Ας περάσουμε στο επόμενο θέμα. Πικετοφορία διοργάνωσε ο Σύνδεσμος Συγγενών Αγνοουμένων Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου έξω από τη Βρετανική Βουλή την Τρίτη, 8 Ιουλίου. Η πικετοφορία έχει σκοπό την προβολή των αιτημάτων του Συλλόγου, με σκοπό να ενταθούν οι προσπάθειες και να γίνουν παραχωρήσεις από την πλευρά της Τουρκίας, ούτως ώστε να προχωρήσει το θέμα της ανέβρεσης των αγνοουμένων του 1974. Το παρόν σε αυτή τη πικετοφορία έδωσαν πολλοί Βρετανοί βουλευτές, εκ των οποίων και ο Άλαν Μιλ μίλησαν στην κάμερα του Hellenic TV για το πρόβλημα των αγνοουμένων της Κύπρου και δήλωσαν δημόσια την στήριξή τους. Επίσης, δηλώσεις έκαναν και ο πρόεδρος της Εθνικής Κυπριακής Ομοσπονδίας, κ. Πίτερ Δρουσιώτης, αλλά και ο πρόεδρος της Επιτροπής Συγγενών Αγνοουμένων, κ. Νεοκλής Νεοκλέους.
Στη Κύπρο πίνομαι πολύ, αμόχω στο Γκρίνια και Λευκοσία. Και ο Ατήλας μέσα απ' την πράσινη γραμμή, τα αδέρφια μας κρατάει σε αιχμαλωσία. Και ο Ατήλας μέσα απ' την πράσινη γραμμή, τα αδέρφια μας κρατάει σε αιχμαλωσία. Όμως εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Όμως εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Όμως εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Στη Κύπρο πίνουμε πολύ κι λίγο το νησί ματώνει την καρδιά μας. Γιατί προσκύνησα εκείνο το πρωί κι ο Ατήλας πάτησε τα χώματα μας. Γιατί προδόθηκε εκείνο το πρωί κι ο Ατήλας πάτησε τα χώματα μας. Όμως εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Όμως εγώ δεν ξεχνώ τις προσφυγές και τους νεκρούς μας δεν ξεχνώ. Θα έρθει μια μέρα που η πράσινη γραμμή για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή. Για τον Ατήλα θα έχει γίνει φυλακή.
But the British government, the EU and the United States government are silent on the fate of our missing relatives and loved ones. Nothing has been done by the EU of a substantial effort to find the whereabouts of our missing relatives. For 40 years.
This is, I mean, my 9th year as a member of Parliament, 9th year here with you, and it's bittersweet. It's, you know, once it's good to see your friends again, but it's very bitter that we're here again. Very, very bitter that we're here again, and we're 40 years on. And what you remind me, and I say it each time, you remind me that it's not just about issues about politicians talking, about negotiations, about UN statements, about talks and talks. It's about human beings. It's about people. It's about family, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers. And that is what you remind me about, that it is that close and that personal. And for that to happen for 40 years, you to be out without justice and truth, is unacceptable. Now, there are conflicts going on all over the world, and there are people being uprooted as we speak in Iraq, Syria, and people who are losing loved ones. And the world stands up and takes notice. And campaigns and lobbies take place, and the world tries to come together. And no different should it be as when it happens in those places, it should happen to yourself, to your loved ones. It should be that much of a concern. There should be the same conviction of needing justice and truth. And so we need to just keep reinvigorating people to say, look, this cannot stand. It is unacceptable, and we must have change. But what we do have is the fact that it is 40 years on. Must mean in this year of years, we must see change and movement. So all of us, whatever opportunities we have, and I have the opportunity in Parliament, the opportunity to speak with other politicians, to speak to ministers, to speak to the Prime Minister and others, to just say to them, look, we ourselves, Britain, must not just walk on by. We must do all we can to seek justice and truth. So we will do, and I will. Okay? You make sure that I get reminded of that in these next months I must do, and I will. And try and do all we can to make sure that you don't have to return again next year and say, why, where is it? So look, I'll do all I can. And thank you again for coming. And you are not forgotten, okay? You all listen, we'll carry on fighting, okay? Carry on fighting for justice and truth. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
David Burrowes, Member of Parliament for Southgate. My ninth year as Member of Parliament, and it is a tragedy that we're back here again. Back here with the relatives of the missing, who remind us all, politicians, that this isn't just an issue that will go on and on, that can be just debated and negotiated. We're dealing with human people, human beings, families, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers who are lost, who are without truth and justice. And that re-energises myself to say that we must do all we can to fight for justice and truth. In the same way that there are people who are being uprooted, whether it's in Iraq or Syria, we as politicians need to take that same notice. The world needs to stand up and ensure that we fight very hard in this year of all years, the 40th year, to make sure we're not back here on the 41st year of Parliament, still seeking justice and truth. We need to do all we can in these months ahead.
Βρισκόμαστε σήμερα έξω από το Κοινοβούλιο και τη Βολή των Λόρδων, εδώ στο κέντρο της Μεγάλης Βρετανίας στο Λονδίνο, για να διαδηλώσουμε ακόμα μια φορά και να πούμε στους πολιτικούς εδώ ότι ακόμα το πρόβλημα μας εξακολουθεί να υπάρχει 40 χρόνια μετά. Φαινομενικά, κανείς μπορεί να νομίσει ότι το πρόβλημα προχωρά προς τη λύση του. Διότι βλέπει ότι τα Ηνωμένα Έθνη το χειρίζονται μέσω της Ερευνητικής Επιτροπής. Βλέπει ότι η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση στηρίζει την Ερευνητική Επιτροπή με χρηματικά ποσά κάθε χρόνο για να κάνει τις εκταφές και αναγνωρίσεις. Βλέπει ότι το Συμβουλίο Υπουργών του Συμβουλίου της Ευρώπης ασχολείται με το θέμα μετά από τις αποφάσεις του Ευρωπαϊκού Δικαστηρίου Ανθρωπίνων Δικαιωμάτων. Δυστυχώς όμως, αν δεν γίνει τίποτα, αν αυτή η διαδικασία συνεχιστεί όπως είναι, το πρόβλημα μας δεν θα λυθεί ποτέ. Διότι οι πληροφορίες που χρειάζονται για να βρεθούν τα δικά μας, οι αγνοούμενοι μας, δεν δίδονται από την Τουρκία. Και μόνο η Τουρκία μπορεί να δώσει τέτοιες πληροφορίες. Γι' αυτό πρέπει να εντείνουμε καθημερινά τις προσπάθειές μας να σπίσουμε κέντρα όπως το Λονδίνο, που είναι σε όλα τα μεγάλα κέντρα, σε όλα τα μεγάλες τους οργανισμούς όπως τα Ηνωμένα Έθνη, η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, το Συμβούλιο της Ευρώπης και όλα, για να πιστούν ότι πρέπει να πιεστεί η Τουρκία επιτέλους να δώσει τις πληροφορίες. Διότι διαφορετικά, αν μείνουμε όπως είμαστε, όπως είπα, δεν θα λυθεί ποτέ το πρόβλημα. Η Ερευνητική Επιτροπή δεν μπορεί να λύσει από μόνη της το πρόβλημα χωρίς να υπάρχουν σοβαρές πληροφορίες. Και μόνο η Τουρκία μπορεί να τις δώσει, αφού ήρθε και έμεινε στα κατεχόμενα, εκεί που όλοι οι αγνοούμενοι μας έχουν χαθεί. Και αν δεν έχουν τις πληροφορίες που είμαστε σίγουροι ότι τις έχουν, μπορούν να τις βρουν. Είναι οι μόνοι που μπορούν να τις βρουν, αφού έμειναν εκεί για 40 ολόκληρα χρόνια. Η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση συνεχίζει να δίνει τα λεφτά, αλλά δεν να πετά. Επιτέλους πρέπει να απαιτήσει από την Τουρκία να δώσει και τις πληροφορίες. Γιατί τα λεφτά χρόνο με το χρόνο πάνε και η Ερευνητική Επιτροπή βρίσκει λείψανα μόνο σε έναν από τους 6 τάφους που ανήκει. Το Συμβούλιο Υπουργών ζητά από την Τουρκία να κάνει κάτι, αλλά δεν τους πιέζει αρκετά. Γι' αυτό εμείς πρέπει να εντείνουμε ακόμα περισσότερο τις προσπάθειές μας, να πείσουμε όλους αυτούς ότι με το να χαϊδεύουν την Τουρκία ούτε δεν θα λύθει το πρόβλημά μας. Και γι' αυτό πρέπει όλοι μας να συνεργαστούμε σε έναν στρατηγικό πλάνο, που με συνεργασία όμως όλων των ενδιαφερομένων πλευρών να πιέσουμε όλους αυτούς που μπορούν να δράσουν προς την Τουρκία να δώσει το αποτέλεσμα που θέλουμε.
We've come out here yet again, another 40th anniversary. It's an absolute thorough disgrace what's going on. There's no recognition, real efforts to solve this problem. And until we actually solve it in total, not just part of it, we'll go on and on and on. And as long as those people out there that have the information and won't release it, so be it. We'll keep on until we get it.
About the negotiations that have started in Cyprus, do you think it will lead to the resolution of the conflict? Are you optimistic?
I'm not one of the negotiators, and I don't, really insist that they follow a lead which I will take. But I'll tell you this: negotiations is the way forward, but they've got to be meaningful. It isn't just pie in the sky. It isn't just here today, gone tomorrow. These are people and people's lives and families we're talking about, and there has to be a total solution. If there's no total solution, there's no solution at all.
Thank you very much. Βρισκόμαστε εδώ όπως κάθε χρόνο. Σήμερα είμαστε εδώ έξω από τη Βρετανική Βουλή μαζί με την Επιτροπή Συγγενών Αγνοουμένων και είναι μια μοναδική ευκαιρία 40 χρόνια μετά την εισβολή να εκφράσουμε την αγανάκτηση της παροικίας για τη συνεχιζόμενη κατοχή της Βορείου Κύπρου από την Τουρκία. Το γεγονός ότι υπάρχουν πρόσφυγες στην Κύπρο, υπάρχουν αγνοούμενοι, υπάρχουν έπικοι, υπάρχει τουρκικός στρατός και θα έχουμε συνάντηση μέσα στη Βουλή αργότερα όπου θα εκφράσουμε αυτή την αγανάκτηση μπροστά στους βουλευτές, στους Βρετανούς βουλευτές και θα ζητήσουμε από αυτούς τη συμπαράστασή τους. Πιστεύουμε ότι αυτή η χώρα είναι μια σημαντική χώρα για την Κύπρο. Είναι μια χώρα κλειδί, μια χώρα η οποία έχει ηθικές και νομικές υποχρεώσεις προς το νησί και οι βουλευτές αυτής της χώρας είναι σε θέση να ασκήσουν πιέσεις, έχουν επιρροή και πιστεύω ότι θα μας ακούσουν για ακόμα μια φορά. Έχουμε αρκετούς φίλους μέσα στη Βουλή και προσπαθούμε πάντα να συνεργαζόμαστε μαζί τους προς όφελος της Κύπρου και του λαού της.
Αμέσως μετά την πικετοφορία ακολούθησε συζήτηση για το θέμα της Κύπρου στη Βουλή των Κοινοτήτων, όπου παρευρέθηκαν πολλοί Βρετανοί βουλευτές και πλήθος κόσμου. Συντονιστής της συζήτησης ήταν ο πρόεδρος της Εθνικής Κυπριακής Ομοσπονδίας, κ. Πίτερ Δρουσιώτης. Η συζήτηση κράτησε αρκετή ώρα και ανταλλάχθηκαν απόψεις μεταξύ των Βρετανών βουλευτών και των παρευρισκόμενων. Εμείς θα παρακολουθήσουμε μερικά αποσπάσματα από την ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση.
Excellency, Cyprus High Commissioner, my Lord, honourable members of Parliament, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our parliamentary sponsors of the event for enabling us to use these excellent facilities at the House. I'm very pleased to welcome our relatively new Cyprus High Commissioner, my very good friend, no longer, my very good friend Euripides Evriviadis, probably the most energetic Cyprus High Commissioner we've had in this country in recent years. I'm delighted he's here with us. Also delighted to welcome Harry Sophocleidis, my predecessor. I think all of you know who Harry is, so he needs no further introduction. We also have with us Nikos Sergidis and Nikos Theodosiou, President and Executive Secretary of the Committee of the Relatives of the Missing in Cyprus, who've travelled specially from Cyprus to be here with us tonight. I'm delighted that you're here with us. And I'd like to welcome Kostis Evstathiou as well. Where is Kostis? Who is the Vice President of EDEC in Cyprus. EDEC is the Socialist Party of Cyprus. And additionally, we have here with us former Member of Parliament, Tom Cox, a great friend of Cyprus, who is here with us as well. And additionally, we have with us right at the end, Catherine West, who is former leader of Islington Council, and she's the prospective parliamentary candidate for the Labour Party in Hornsey and Wood Green, which happens to be my constituency. I wish you luck. I mean, I'd like to, of course, welcome warmly, we've got 3 members of Parliament here, we'll be joined by others later, and we'll have an opportunity to hear from them in a minute. But I wanted to say a few words. You know, tonight marks 4 decades of military occupation in Cyprus, 40 years of anguish for the relatives of the missing, many of them here with us tonight. The utter injustice of division, ethnic cleansing, cultural genocide, religious desecration. These consequences are the pernicious legacy of Turkey's invasion of Cyprus in 1974. But the tragedy of this island is made even more profound because the will of the United Nations has been defined with complete impunity by successive Turkish governments for 40 years. Which makes today an anniversary of failure too, the failure of the international community to hold Turkey to account. Cyprus is up against an authoritarian and intolerant Turkish Prime Minister who has a problem with pluralism in his own country. Mr. Erdogan and his government have shown no real sign of engagement in relation to Cyprus, despite President Anastasiadis' goodwill and readiness to negotiate in a positive spirit. The island's indigenous people, whatever their ethnic origin, and their wishes are the last thing on Mr. Erdogan's mind. This year, our plea to our friends in Parliament carries even greater urgency because the talks currently underway represent a real opportunity for a breakthrough on the island. If only Turkey would seize that opportunity and change its hitherto intransigent stance. The United Kingdom remains a crucial player. It has historic treaty obligations to Cyprus, it maintains military bases on the island, and it is Cyprus's partner in the European Union, in the Commonwealth, and in the United Nations. It is also a strategic ally of Turkey. As such, we believe that the influence of British parliamentarians is of vital importance to the Cypriot diaspora's mission to help deliver long-lasting unity and justice for Cyprus. We have with us, as I said at the outset, Mr. Sagidis, who is the president of the committee of the organization of the relatives of the missing, and I'd like to ask him to say a few words on behalf of the committee. Mr. Sagidis.
Mr. President of the National Federation of Cyprus and United Kingdom, Your Excellency, Mr. High Commissioner of the Republic of Cyprus, honorable members of Parliament, dear friends. Thank you for organizing this event for the problem of our missing, the missing person of Cyprus. As you are aware, some 2,000 people from both communities of Cyprus, 1,619 Greek Cypriots and 503 Turkish Cypriots were missing since the communal events of 1963-64 and the Turkish military invasion of 1974. So many years has gone by and the humanitarian problem of the missing remains unresolved, despite the fact that international humanitarian law provides that the right of the affected families to know must be respected and restored by all involved and especially those responsible. All those in possession of information about the missing or in a position to secure such information have the obligation to provide it. And by saying this, we mean that we demand credible answers for all missing persons, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Dear friends, in May 10, 2001, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that in relation to missing persons of Cyprus, Turkey violated basic articles of the European Convention of Human Rights. As relatives, we say that since the court's ruling, some steps in the right direction were made. These steps center only on the work of the Committee on Missing Persons, known as CP, which is under the aegis of the UN Secretary General. For the last 8 years, this committee is operating a program of exhumations, identifications, and return of remains. Until today, a total of 442 families from both communities have received the remains of their loved ones. This consists only 25% of the total number. If the present rate of exhumations and identification does not change for the better quickly, there will be no parents alive to learn about the fate of their children.
The demonstration that has just taken place outside and the speech we've just heard is a reminder of those who disappeared as a consequence or as part of that process. And so it is a matter of some very great sadness that 40 years on, these issues are not resolved. And that despite, as you, Peter, have said in your remarks, in spite of the very clear position taken by the United Nations, taken in principle at least, by the international community, we do not have a resolution, the resolution that the families involved and the people of Cyprus so desire and would so wish to see happen. But I'm pleased to be here as well for a different reason, because I think one of the things that I take pride in, having been leader of the council in Haringey, not in 1974, but in the years, in 20 years, was the way in which the communities in London, communities in particular in North London, welcomed those who were displaced and came to London into their hearts and into their areas. And I believe that statement about a willingness to receive refugees, about a willingness to work with people from different communities, is something which is incredibly important in the modern world.
We also have with us tonight my very good friend Chris Bryant, Member of Parliament for the Rhondda Valley in Wales. I think many of you know Chris. He was Minister for Europe for a while in the previous Labour government, and he's currently a member of the Labour shadow team. Delighted he's here with us. Chris Bryant.
Thanks very much, Kalispera, and I note that I'm Peter's very good friend and you were just his good friend. So I've been promoted. You were his leader, yes, he's frightened of you, maybe he's not frightened of me, I don't know. Look, there are no Greek Cypriot voters in my constituency. I am not here because there are any voters that I would like to persuade to support me. I am here for one very simple reason, which is that 4 years ago I was Labour's Europe Minister, and there was a moment then when I hoped that in the last year of the Labour government, with Christofias and Talat trying to work together, that it was maybe possible to come to a deal. And when I arrived in post in the Foreign Office, the first thing I said to David Miliband was, look, this is the thing where I think I might be able to make some kind of difference. So I threw as much energy as I possibly could at it, and we all know that we failed. So for me, it's depressing, not only that it's 40 years, but it's 4 years since I was Europe Minister. Not because I'd like the job back, though I would like the job back, but because actually that moment passed, and it feels, if anything, as if there's less hope now than there was 4 years ago, if I'm honest. It felt then that there were two people who could do business together. It doesn't really feel like that to me at the moment. There was a moment when the international community, I think, the European Union, the United Nations, the British government for that matter, were more committed to using every possible leverage they had to try and bring people together. There was a moment when actually when the church and the religious leaders on both sides, I think, were more committed than they are at the moment to bringing about a change. And in the end, it's an absolute disgrace that in the European continent that likes to say that we are at peace and that we've been at peace since the Second World War, we have a capital city of an island that is divided, and you can't simply walk from one side to the other side without going through a demilitarised zone. It's a disgrace.
We have Jim Sheridan with us, who is another long-standing friend of the island from Scotland. So we have the United Kingdom well represented here tonight, because we have Wales and we have Scotland as well. So Jim Sheridan, please, if you would say a few words, Jim.
40 years is a long time. I mean, that's probably equivalent to the last time Scotland qualified for the World Cup. So, I mean, it is really nice to be here. In terms of Cyprus, I've been heavily involved, as most of you will know, with the Committee of Missing Persons, and trying to get some sort of closure for the relatives and indeed the friends of those who lost their lives. And it's proving to be extremely difficult. We had again at the Council of Europe, we had the United Nations come along, and it was somewhat depressing to hear that the exhumations have decreased. That means that they're now bringing less people to the fore, the remains of people less to the fore than we would have hoped for. And that's probably down to a number of reasons, none more so than resources, financial resources. But for me, the big reason why that number has decreased is the lack of cooperation from the Turkish authorities. I think it's quite disgraceful that they are hiding information or withholding information that people can get in order to get some sort of closure to this whole sad episode. And I've said that quite clearly to the people from the United Nations, and I've said that openly to the Turkish authorities as well. There's more that can be done, and hopefully more will be done. But we need to make sure that we get the right information, and that's why I think we need to continue with the investigation, we need to continue with the inquiry, we need to continue putting pressure not just on the UK governments, but on other governments to make sure that financial resources are there to try and get some sort of closure. Along with Harry Sophocles and Alan Meal, we visited the laboratory in Cyprus just over last year. And I have to say, the people who work there are certainly very committed, very professional, but they're working with limited resources, but more importantly, they're working with limited information, and that's the problem we have. So I am committed to the problem of Cyprus. I am committed to making sure that the relatives of the missing persons get all the information they need, they get some sort of closure in this, and it won't take another 40 years, and I don't think it will happen sooner rather than later, but we need that commitment, that cooperation from the Turkish authorities, but we also need the international pressure on the Turkish authorities to make sure that that information is available. And I thank you very much for coming along today.
We have another Cypriot here with us, who is the Vice President of EDEG in Cyprus, Kostis Evstathiou. Kostis, would you like to say a few words, please?
I'm a lawyer in Cyprus, so I can approach the issue on a different basis. I think that the problem of the missing persons is not only a humanitarian issue, it's a crime against humanity. My family has experienced too the intolerable kind of uncertainty and drama of the missing persons. Mr. Theodosiou knows that the case. My uncle was a young teacher of music, 27 years of age. He was taken along with 11 inhabitants of the Anusa village some days after the ceasefire, and he was disappeared. His remains were discovered some 35 years after in a mass grave. He was abducted by the Turkish troops. He was executed by the Turkish troops. His remains were proved to be full of holes from the skull and the limbs, from the bullets. What that means? That means that the Turkish army was the one who planned and executed their assassination. It was not an atrocity, a spontaneous atrocity where somebody can claim. It was a well-planned assassination in order to kill the will of the Cyprus people to resist.
We have Sir Alan Neil here with us, who is a long-standing friend of the island. He's been with us for many, many years. I'm delighted that he's here once again. I'd like him to say a few words.
Can I first of all say it's an absolute honour and a privilege to be here tonight, not just with a room full of friends, but actually to have the Missing Persons Committee over here from Cyprus, who I've tried to work with for decades now, and right away from the very, very beginning, and they've given me every ounce of support I've ever needed to do that task, and I'm really honoured that they've managed on the 40th anniversary to get over to Britain to actually, again, keep the cause going. I want to also pay tribute to somebody in the room tonight who I feel very deeply for, an ex-colleague of mine, Tom Cox, who was a real hero. You know, in life, in politics, it's sometimes very easy to be a hero, but other times it's bloody hard. And he was on his own many, many weeks and months and years when nobody else would come in support. And I can tell you this, it's sometimes lonely out there, and Tom felt a bit of that, and mainly for Cyprus, I have to say. Now, here we go again, 40 years since all of this started. And it started because of the actions of a Labour government, who got in and did what it said it was going to do. It freed Cyprus to be an independent country. And with that, it became a guarantor of power. And what happened shortly, a few years after that, was that people took advantage of that for their own behest. Whether it was territorial, whether it was for land or property or a part of the Middle East is yet open for debate. Whether it was actually all those years ago, even then, about oil, about shipping or whatever. But it happened, and it was illegal.
Αγαπητοί φίλοι τηλεθεατές, αυτά είχαμε για σας απόψε. Στο σημείο αυτό να σας υπενθυμίσουμε ότι μπορείτε να επικοινωνείτε μαζί μας τηλεφωνικά στο 020 8292 7037 ή μέσω της ηλεκτρονικής μας διεύθυνσης info@hellenictv.net. Επίσης μην ξεχνάτε ότι πλέον μπορείτε να παρακολουθείτε διαδικτυακά αλλά και από το Rockbox της ΣΥΤΑ UK, τις αγαπημένες σας ελληνικές και κυπριακές σειρές, τις τοπικές παραγωγές του σταθμού μας, 14 ελληνικά κανάλια από Ελλάδα και Κύπρο, αλλά και πολλές κινηματογραφικές επιτυχίες. Πριν όμως αποχαιρετήσουμε, ας ρίξουμε μια γρήγορη ματιά στις επόμενες εκδηλώσεις. Την Κυριακή 20 Ιουλίου, το παράρτημα ΑΚΕΛ Βρετανίας διοργανώνει μνημόσυνο για τους πεσόντες κατά το προδοτικό πραξικόπημα και την βάρβαρη τουρκική εισβολή στην εκκλησία του Αγίου Ιωάννη του Βαπτιστή στις 11 το πρωί. Ο μιλητής θα είναι ο Κύπριος ύπατος αρμοστής Ευρυπίδης Ευρυβιάδης. Αμέσως μετά ακολουθούν οι ταινίες Πολίτες Β κατηγορίας και Τσιγκάνικο αίμα. Τα προγράμματα που μπορείτε να παρακολουθήσετε το Σαββατοκύριακο είναι αύριο Σάββατο στις 7:30 την εκπομπή Ανέσπερον Φως που παρουσιάζει και επιμελείται ο πρεσβύτερος Σάββας Δαβίδ Βασιλιάδης. Αμέσως μετά στις 8 το βράδυ ακολουθεί η εκπομπή Αύριο είναι Κυριακή που επιμελείται και παρουσιάζει από το πρεσβύτερος Ιωσήφ Παλιούρας. Αμέσως μετά στις 8:30 το βράδυ ακολουθεί η εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV που θα σας παρουσιάσει την τελετή λήξης του Ελεύθερου Πανεπιστημίου στην Ομογένεια του Λονδίνου με εισηγητή τον πρίτανη του Πανεπιστημίου της Κύπρου κ. Κώστα Χριστοφίδη. Την Κυριακή στις 7:30 παρακολουθήστε τη λογοτεχνική εκπομπή του Hellenic TV Τεχνόπολης με τον Ξενοφόντα Αντωνόπουλο και την Αναστασία 6 και αμέσως μετά στις 8 ακολουθεί η εκπομπή Πρόσωπα με τον Βασίλη Παναγή. Στη συνέχεια παρακολουθήστε τη μουσική εκπομπή της Ομογένειας με τίτλο «Όπα» με επιλεγμένα λαϊκά τραγούδια και καλεσμένους. Τη Δευτέρα μην χάσετε στις 8 το πρόγραμμα με τίτλο «Θεϊκές ομορφιές» που σας ταξιδεύει στα όμορφα μέρη της Ελλάδος. Στη συνέχεια παρακολουθήστε το ενημερωτικό και πολιτιστικό πρόγραμμα «Πολιτιστικό ημερολόγιο» που παρουσιάζει η Σουζάνα Καζάκα στις 8:30. Την Τρίτη στις 8 προβάλλεται η εκπομπή «Δράξαστε παιδείας» που επιμελείται και παρουσιάζει ο πατέρας Ιωσήφ Παλιούρας. Την Τετάρτη παρακολουθήστε την εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV που θα σας παρουσιάσει την χοροεσπερίδα που διοργάνωσε ο Κυπριακός Όμιλος Ποδοσφαίρου Αγγλίας στο Κυπριακό Κοινοτικό Κέντρο. Τέλος, παρακολουθήστε ο Μάριος Καμιναρίδης παρουσιάζει συνεντεύξεις από την Κύπρο κάθε Πέμπτη στις 8. Στο σημείο αυτό η εκπομπή Ομογένεια Εδω Λονδινο έχει φτάσει στο τέλος της. Σας ευχαριστούμε που μείνατε μαζί μας και παρακολουθήσατε το πρόγραμμά μας. Αυτή είναι η τελευταία εκπομπή για την περίοδο 2013-2014. Η παραγωγή της εκπομπής και όλοι όσοι δουλέψαμε για αυτή την περίοδο, αλλά και η διεύθυνση του Hellenic TV, σας εύχεται καλό καλοκαίρι. Θα είμαστε πάλι μαζί σας το Σεπτέμβρη για να σας ενημερώνουμε για ό,τι συμβαίνει στην Ομογένεια του Λονδίνου και όχι μόνο. Μέχρι τότε να έχετε ένα καλό καλοκαίρι. Ραντεβού το Σεπτέμβρη. Γεια σας!